Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to Embody Feminine Leadership, a mini masterclass. I am so happy that you guys decided to join me for this. Believe me, this is going to be a beautiful 30 to 35 minutes that we're going to share together. I want to begin by just asking you a simple question, one that might feel a little uncomfortable, but I think this is a great place to start to get you thinking about what's to come. Where do you sometimes find yourself overriding your body when it's time to make decisions or in situations where you need to be leading? Where have you found yourself second guessing what's coming up within you? Just think about that for a moment. Are you someone that has a habit of neglecting parts of yourself so that you can reach a goal? Are you someone that constantly skips meals? You think skipping breakfast or skipping lunch to help you meet deadlines is beneficial? Do you find yourself pushing through when you feel exhausted and your body is saying it needs to rest? Do you stay quiet in rooms that have strong opinions out of fear or how you might come across or be perceived? Because I know that I do. I struggle with this often. And the root of this can be that you're a Virgo. No, I'm just joking. You can be a perfectionist. You can be a people pleaser. You have this need to feel validated. But understanding what that is and where that comes from, that is important, and we're going to get to that. But the problem is that most of us have been taught that how we lead and how we show up in certain places needs to look a certain way. And we believe that hard work needs to be hustle, 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 that hustle culture. We believe that in order for you to lead or to have any success, you have to detach yourself from this deeper part of you, this deeper knowing within you, and yield to the logical mind or the rules of the culture and society. We've been living a lie. Most of us women have been living a lie. We've been living a life that has been driven by ego, by our ego minds, and by this internal programming from society that defines what success looks like. And so now I want you to understand that our bodies are like a lighthouse. It's like this flashing light, this signal of light all day long, directing us towards home. So during this session, I want to invite you to explore that. What does that feel like? To move from your head to your heart to our wisdom. And before we do that, I want to introduce myself. Jumping ahead. I am Marjorie Bostwick Phoenix. I consider myself a leadership disruptor, and I want you to rethink and to reimagine leadership as we know it. I want you to think about the future of leadership and how we, as women in particular, how we're going to be a part of that. I work with companies and organizations to help them prepare their teams for this rapidly changing time ahead of us. And I work with female leaders who are ready to lead from their wild side, right? So that is outside of this leadership box that they've created for us. These are women that are exhausted from working so hard, right? Because they've been working from this one dimension all this time, mainly in their masculine, so that they can stay ahead of the game. And although a lot of times they tell themselves that they are in their feminine in their work, they're not fully embodying it. So they are not at this place where the work that they're doing, it comes with ease and flow, or from this place of receptivity or connection. We find ourselves drained and exhausted. I've ran my own nonprofit for several years. I've had several businesses. I'm an author. I have a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. I have an undergrad in sociology with a minor in women and gender studies. But beyond the knowledge, the education, the experience, this work has been the lived experiences of my life as someone who I've gone through some things. I've gone through some things and I've lived to tell it. I was once a stay-at-home mom for 7 years. And I went from that to spending a night in jail, ending up homeless for a period, and then fighting for custody of my 6-year-old child and my life. So that journey took me through a self-discovery process and an awakening that has really brought me to this point for such a time as this. And let's be real, this is a hell of a time to be alive, right? We're witnessing a changing of the guards. Systems are breaking down, leadership is crumbling as we know it, and people are waking up everywhere. We're coming online. And I believe that the future of leadership is feminine. I believe that women here in this country and across the globe will be front and center in holding space and healing and nurturing the collective as we step into what's next. What's next? Well, I believe that this era that we're going into is calling us to really confront what no longer works. I think we all can sense that and reclaim what we've forgotten. The feminine and all its wisdom is here to mend what has been fractured within us, around us, and between us. And we're being asked to bring back parts of ourselves that have been silenced and dismissed and suppressed and buried. And not just for personal healing, but because those parts are needed in this world. We're going through some personal reckoning at the same time this country is and the world is. So the leaders we need now and in the future are the ones who will help to heal the earth and repair our society. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, and it is. And it's exactly what we need right now. So before we go any further, I want to ground us in this moment to prepare us for this time together. Okay? So just relax wherever you are right now and just notice how you're sitting. Notice your body's posture and how you're taking in what I'm sharing so far. Notice your jaw, your chest, your belly. What's happening in your body right now? You need to take a deep breath. Resist the urge, though, to analyze. Just feel. Let your body speak, even if it's just a whisper. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to do anything. You just need to be. This is the foundation of feminine leadership. It's about being in relationship with yourself. So, to do that, I want to talk about the 4 pillars of feminine leadership. what I believe are the four pillars. There's presence, receptivity, relational power, and intuition. Let's start with presence. Presence is what we just did a moment ago. Being here with yourself, rooted in the awareness of where you are, not thinking ahead, not thinking about the past, not managing perceptions, just being here. Learning how to lead in a way that really honors yourself, right? Fully inhabiting the moment. I call this the power of presencing. One of the ways that I do this is I love to, after I go to the gym in the morning, I love going to the pool because it's right outside. No one else is there. Usually everybody else is gone for the day and it's early in the morning and I get in the water and I float. And when I float, the only thing out of the water is just this part of my face, my ears, else is under the water. And I close my eyes and I can just hear my breath. And I lose all sense of time, all sense of where I am, what day it is, what time it is. I am just one in that moment, present with myself and my breath. That is a practice that I am really starting to enjoy more and more because it centers me. And I'm working on getting to a place where I can do that more and more in my home, no matter what's going on around me. And so that is part of the embodiment to be able to be present with yourself. Okay. So that's one of the first things. The second is receptivity. Now, receptivity is not passive, it is being open and discerning. And it means to listen deeply and allowing yourself to be impacted without losing your center. And so this is a great practice for now. All the noise around us, right? We have to find a way to center ourselves, which is the presencing, but also as we're taking in information, how are we receiving that, right? There is an openness that comes with feminine energy, right? But you also want to be very discerning about how you open up and what you let in. So, opening yourself to receive from the universe and from the wisdom within you. So, an example of this would be in conversations or in meetings, right? If something is shared that you weren't quite expecting, instead of reacting quickly or trying to move past it, right? You pause so that you can better understand that. Someone did that with me in a conversation not too long ago, and I so appreciated that. They went quiet and they said, I'm pausing so that I can, take this in and then proceed with asking questions. And so instead of having to comment, you can inquire, right? The masculine way would be to shoot right back, right? You'd have a sharp response. You've got to be on it. But it's a choice, really, to stay open, even when it would be easier to shut down or to try to control that moment. So being in receptivity. The next is, oops, moving ahead. Sorry, trying to get my PowerPoint to move to the next one. There we go. Okay. All right. Relational power. Now, relational power, this is what we do as women. Feminine energy is really about relationship and connection. Relational power values connection. It seeks to create influence through this space of mutual respect and collaboration. Many of us, though, we do have a tendency as women to be an island unto ourselves, to silo ourselves out of, out of this need to protect ourselves, really, right? We might be protecting ourselves because we've had some, not so great experiences in the past, or out of competition, or we just don't like working with other people, right? That's something you need to dig into to see, okay? But the embodied feminine leadership, it's about that shared leadership that I was talking about, where you value the collaboration and the connection, right? This dismantles that top-down leadership model of delegating. So instead of delegating, you're trying to deepen. You're trying to go deep with the people around you as well. So you want people to feel like they're a part of something. So through your presence and your openness, you're going to create this connection. Next, and the final pillar is intuition. Now, this is something that we seem to ignore the most. It is what Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes talks about in her book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. This is what a lot of my work is informed on. But she writes that what does this wildish intuition do for women? Like the wolf, intuition has claws that pries things open, it pins things down, it has eyes that can see through the shields of persona. It has ears that hear beyond the range of the mundane human hearing. With this formidable psychic tool, a woman takes on a shrewd and even precognitive animal consciousness, one that deepens her femininity and sharpens her ability to move confidently in the outer world. That says it all. Intuition is not mystical, it's deeply human, and it's deeply embodied and deeply feminine. So when you're connected to your body, you can access your inner signals, right? You can pick up on them more clearly. When you're disconnected, you second guess yourself or you look outside of yourself for the answers that you already have and know. Intuition is our superpower. It is a radical source of guidance and it roots you in what is real, that it may not be seen, but it's felt. So let's contrast that with what many of us have been taught, the masculine coded leadership, right? Individualism, productivity, logic, power, right? Masculine coded leadership often values these. It values individualism. It values prioritizing outcomes over people. It relies on logic and it's holding on for dear life for power. And it measures worth through productivity. But I think the deeper issue with this is that where it's gotten us to so far, right? If we look at where we are right now, based on this model, we have a crisis-driven leadership that has taken us to war. We have hierarchies of control that are making decisions about people that they are not in touch with. We have this movement for return to work that is really part of a burnout culture. And we have lack of insight and lack of foresight. This model has built some powerful systems, but it has also led to this widespread disillusionment of inequality and ecological harm. And many people do not trust leadership anymore, not because they don't believe in leadership, but because we've only known one version of it. So, something for you to ask yourself. Oops, let me. Something for you to ask yourself. What am I building and who gets to shape it? I want you to think about who are you calling in to this shared leadership with you? Now, I plan to have a deeper conversation and discussion about the word leadership on my next podcast. And I believe that with this rise of embodied feminine leadership, we are moving into this space of midwifing and facilitating and guiding. We're ready for language that is grounded in a collective awareness of what needs to be heard and seen and healed. But what I've found mostly about leadership as I've really been examining and exploring this field over the years, the evolution of the word leader and leadership has been driven by men. And all of the theories and all of the framework have come from men. If we think back when think about leaders, maybe 10 years ago, we would probably think of historical figures such as Martin Luther King, Mandela, Mother Teresa, Malcolm X, right? These are people that were leading social impact causes. And since then, we've looked at leadership as these corporate tycoons that we've put up on these pedestals now that are all talking the leadership lingo, and it's been driven by them. But this is shifting. This is shifting. So I want us to pause here for a moment because I've said a lot. I've said a lot, and I think it's time for us to get into a our first reflection with all of this. So this is a moment I want you to step back, not just intellectually, but viscerally. And I want you to let your body stay with you as you reflect on three questions that I'm going to pose. You can write them down the answers to these if you want, or you can just answer them out loud. And I want you to notice what rises up for you. All right. You may feel a sense of urgency or sadness or even some resistance, but just let it be information, right? And we have to be all right with that sometimes. We don't have to overanalyze everything. Sometimes it's just information for us, right? This reflection is important because the next section that we're going into, we're going to be looking at how you lead affects more than just outcomes, right? It touches cultures and people. And so your embodiment, it really speaks before your words do. So this is going to be a time for you to get grounded in some of this thought process before we go into the next section. And after each question, feel free to pause the video so you can have time to reflect and answer and then come back to the next. And then we'll go into the next portion. First question. Where have I leaned heavily on control or speed or a sense of certainty to feel safe or effective? Where have I leaned heavily on control or speed or certainty to feel safe or effective? Number two, where have I quieted my intuition, slowed my pace, or softened my presence in ways that felt like a risk? Where have I quieted my intuition, slowed my pace, or softened my presence in ways that felt like a risk? And number three, how did those choices shape the people around me? And when you're done, we're going to go in and explore how your presence shapes your team, whether you're aware of it or not. How your embodiment affects your team. I don't know if you notice it got a little darker here. We're getting ready for thunderstorms. So your presence shapes the room before you say a word. People notice how you arrive, how you show up, how you hold yourself. And when I first stepped into leadership, I didn't realize how much of me was shaped by by survival, right? I had learned early on not to draw attention to myself, right? I wanted to be in the backgrounds. I wanted to lead from the background. I made myself small. I stayed quiet. I stayed agreeable, helpful. And being invisible was safer for me. And as I grew into myself, I learned that I could not embody what I had not made contact with. My leadership was shaped by what I was avoiding, not by who I truly was. And it took time for me to see that, to notice where and how my body was holding back, and to feel that younger part of me that still thought that visibility was dangerous. And I had to choose to be present anyway. And that for me came from, a childhood where as a little girl, I was doted on, you know. Oh, she's so cute, she's so adorable. I was doted on, but it also gave me unwanted attention. And it gave me unwanted attention from family members that um, I was supposed to be safe with, but I wasn't. So I learned that attention and that doting and that adoration, it wasn't safe. It was dangerous. And that caused me to pull back. And it caused me also to suppress signals from my body. That is part of this work, right? As I guide and I facilitate with leaders in my the Wild Women Leadership Portal, right? You have to understand that you can have the daily practices, but without support, you're going to feel overwhelmed and unsure because this work, as you embody fully who you are, you have to understand that it affects all areas of your life. This is in every area from relationships to your health to your business. And if it's one thing that I know that I have been able to do, which is why I opened this space up, is that I can help you bring awareness and perspective and even help you make sense of the patterns that are showing up in your life, give you insight and help you move towards that shift so that you can embody fully who you are in your leadership capacity. And in doing this, too, in community is even so much more important than ever. So I think last week I made a video about a book that I've been reading on Cleopatra, the story of Cleopatra. And what I learned was that she used the power of her presence as she ruled. She was, not just a ruler, but she used her intellect, she used her sexuality. And it also made me think about other women with who the power of their presence is what they use to open doors and make an impact. So I thought about women like Eartha Kitt, right? I love that video where she talks about what is compromise. You should find that if you haven't heard it. Josephine Baker, Marilyn Monroe. Right? These were women that fully embodied their feminine. They were successful. They made a way for themselves. They were unapologetic about who they were and how they showed up. They knew who they were. And they would never go into a room full of men and match their masculine energy to get what they want. They understood how to stay in their feminine. So when you lead from your body, others feel it, right? When you're calm, they're calm. It helps people slow down. They move to your groove and your pace. It helps people feel safe as well. When you're clear about what you want, the way you want it, how you want it, and it comes from your heart, it really invites people in with honesty. Your grounded attention gives them permission to bring more of themselves. So now you create space without even forcing it. And it is very liberating for both you and the people around you. You listen while leaning in. You make decisions from a place that feels grounded and not reactive. And this is something that the masculine leadership does not do. It keeps you looking over and down at, right? It keeps you micromanaging, looking and worrying if things are getting done, feeling like you have to have your hands in everything. Now, I'm not saying that we have to turn our backs on all aspects of that model. What I'm saying is that we have to start being discerning and when it's necessary, and we have to learn how to balance it. Don't disconnect from your body or your truth because your team and the people around you will notice it. They will know if you're not fully connected to yourself. And this can create an unsettledness in a way that um, your team is scattered. You're constantly having to put out fires. You have to respond to every crisis and you're micromanaging. And and I've been in these environments. I've worked in these environments. You may not, the team may not be able to name it, but they can feel it, right? And then they begin bracing for what's next because it's so uncertain. They watch you more closely and they're trying to figure out what you really mean. Your conversations become narrow and superficial, and people play it safe. So you might be getting compliance, but you'll lose energy and you'll lose creativity. So the only way to shift through this is through your body. So let's move on to a reflection and into from reflection into practice, where we're going to go within to witness what's here now. So I keep moving ahead of myself. I'm sorry, I'm having, there we go. All right. So, your body as oracle embodiment practice. Now, this is part of the Wild Woman Leadership Portal session, right? So, if you'd like to be a part of that next cohort, of if you'd like to go through this journey with me individually as your facilitator and guide, just reach out to me for more details about that. But we're going to do a practice right now to help us drop into our bodies before we move into the final exercise of anchoring and embodiment. So let's relax, let's drop into our bodies and just find a position where you feel fully supported. Let your breath settle. No need to change it, just let it settle. Begin with breathing, inhaling through your nose Feel your belly until it expands and exhale, letting go all of the tension. Now gently bring some movement in your body. Let your spine sway or your head roll, your shoulders drop. If your body wants stillness, that's fine. Just follow what your body wants and needs right now. And just tune in. Feel any sensations that are present, any tingling, numbness. Where is the energy in your body right now? Are there any emotions that are close to the surface? Now ask yourself, what does my leadership feel like from here? You might get one word. You might get a song. What is it like to lead from this place? Just stay curious. I'm sorry if my voice dropped because I went into my body as well. It's beautiful. Now, now that we've opened up ourselves with that, we're going to close with this exercise. I hope you have paper and pen handy. This is going to bring everything together for you. And this is going to help you move from this place of insight to integration. And this is why it matters. And this is what I was saying before about having support through this, because awareness isn't enough. Many of us intellectualize, uh, how we understand embodiment, but without fully seeing where the disconnections are, naming it, understanding it, it's going to remain abstract. So the step that we're going to is going to help make it visible and practical for you. Also, the patterns are important to name. When you can identify when you see you are becoming disconnected, when you're rushing, when you're people pleasing, when you're overthinking and you're disrupting the rhythm. Practices need anchoring. So this is also important. We need to have a clear path back to ourselves, right? So this is something that will shift you from that disconnection to embodiment, because this isn't a one-time thing. Like I said, this is a practice. This practice also builds trust, self-trust. This is why intuition is the foundation of this, because we want to be able to go within when we need the answers and not rely on theories and framework, right? The tools that we have within us. And then we want to restore agency to feel like we have what it takes to create what it is that we want and do it from within, from an alignment from within. So, this embodiment leadership mapping, again, this is excuse me, an exercise that we do as part of the Wild Women Leadership Portal. And so we're going to identify your leadership patterns and we're going to sort of see what that connection looks like. So on a blank piece of paper, all right, I'm going to give you 4 questions. And then again, you can stop the video to answer each one. But we're going to look at where you disconnect from yourself, right? So that first question is, what situations or habits pull me away from my body? So this is, where do I leave myself? So I want you to list some situations or patterns where you feel disconnected or you're feeling performative or tense. Question number 2, what restores your connection to presence and clarity? So what pulls me back in, right? What practices or what environment or people restore your presence and clarity, right? Question number 3, what signals tell you it's time to pause and return to yourself? Now, this is what disconnection feels like, and it's important to know, right? I talked about this in one of my past videos about you could feel like you have dry mouth, you can feel lightheaded, you can feel the sense of anxiety, right? So describe what those physical signs or emotional cues tell you when you're not embodied. And number 4, what's one practice or ritual or boundary that will help you stay anchored? This is the path back to yourself. So maybe 3 to 5 simple steps or reminders that you can use to come back to yourself. Remember, this is a tool in a toolbox for you, right? And as time goes on, this can change. Once you've gotten all of that, I want you to now write an anchor statement, right, of a practice that you are willing to connect to or do or perform each day at 11 a.m. or 12 a.m. or in the afternoon or in the morning. I will take 5 minutes to reconnect with myself by going outside and listening to the birds, going outside, putting my feet, right? Finding those things that will help ground you and make that a statement, claim it, write it down, claim it, commit to it. Make that part of your embodiment practice. It's a small thing, right? You can take baby steps or you can take longer steps. You can maybe say, every morning I will spend X amount of time presencing myself. And I think another good thing is to, at the end of the day, to reflect on if you were open and receptive. How were you in your relational power with others today? How were you connecting with others? And were there times that you didn't listen to your intuition? Were there times that you did listen, and what those were? It's important to stay connected with this process with yourself. And finally, we've come to the end. We are closing here. None of this means anything unless you are integrating this practice, you're embodying it daily. I want you to comment below to tell me how you are integrating this practice into your leadership. I really want to hear that this has been beneficial for you. This will be useful for you, because this is where practice becomes power. And again, you don't have to do this alone. If this work speaks to you, I want to invite you to join the Wild Woman Leadership Portal. And it's a space for women who are ready to lead from depth. right? We're creating new ways of leading. So by returning to what is already wise within us, this moment is calling for us leaders who can show up and stay in our complexity and move with clarity and hold their ground and hold space without closing our hearts. So this will be my final masterclass that for the public. Future masterclasses will only be for my subscribers in my Substack community moving forward. I want to invite you to join so that you can be a part of, being able to be a part of these masterclasses with me and other tools and practices that I will be sharing in that community. So I look forward to seeing you there, and I look forward to seeing you inside the portal.